else I didn't go. But he also did the commencement speech at Zoe's graduation,
Oh, wow.
and it was exceptional. But you know what? I said they're grooming him because he's very close friends with Obama. I said they are grooming him to run for president. He's gonna run for president one day.
Yeah, he is phenomenal.
And let it go. Yeah. But he also did the commencement speech at Zoe's graduation, and
wow.
it was exceptional.
Yeah.
But you know what? I said they're grooming him because he's very close friends with Obama. I said they are grooming him to run for president. He's gonna run for president one day.
Yeah, he is phenomenal.
Do you know? He also did the commencement speech at Zoe's graduation. I'm not sure. Let me log out and come back. Yeah, but you know what? I said they're grooming him because he's very close friends with Obama. They're grooming him to run for president.
Can you hear me? I don't know why that echo is.
Sure. Let me log out and come back.
Okay.
You know what?
Hi, Nidia. Can you all hear me? Nidia, wave at me if you can hear me.
Hear you.
Okay. LaShawne, can you hear me? Hold on.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can.
Awesome.
I'm just gonna wait for a few more people to get online.
We're gonna go over that.
Okay. I'm so excited. I did an impromptu thing on Facebook Live. I am hyped about what the governor is doing. I'm hyped about what he said at MBE night. I'm just hyped about the possibilities and the opportunities that's coming our way and the things that we have already now in our arsenal, and I'm sure you're going to talk about it. What we have in our hand. Woo-hoo.
What we have in our hand. You got your questions ready?
No. Look, I'm going to engage in this conversation and I'm going to have the questions as we go on. But I do have, I have one. So I'm waiting on these folks to come in. And if they don't come in the next 1 minute, I'm starting without them.
Okay.
Hi, Ron. How are you?
Good. How are you today?
Phenomenal.
Nice.
So I'm actually going to mute everyone. And then I'm going to give you the floor, LaShawne. And so we always have Johnny come latelys. I don't know what that's about, but you know, maybe everyone's getting out of the truck. I'm not quite sure. Let me unmute you, LaShawne. Okay. Hey, everybody. I am so excited to have my wealth coach on the call tonight. Her name is LaShawne Holland. For most of you all, I want you all to know, I'm just not starstruck. Dang, where's that thing coming from? I'm not starstruck. However, when I met LaShawne, I became starstruck because she showed me things that I did not know that was possible for me as a woman. I just didn't know certain things to the degree that after listening to her and then going to one of her events, I actually came home and I apologized to my children, right? Because I actually hindered their possibilities for just different things and how I could have set myself up for them to be free in their college education, just things I didn't know, right? And she's really taught me a lot about investing, wealth building, all the things that I be sharing with some of you all personally on this Zoom. I get straight from her. I be repeating, right? So some of y'all think, oh, Carmen just so smart. Nope, I be repeating. I be repeating all the things. So I want to open it up, not with questions, but I just want LaShawne to come on and tell us about herself. And my biggest thing is, what can we do? How can you help us in trucking? What mindset do we need to shift and pivot? I want to say this, I'm sorry, before she comes on. MBE night, y'all missed it. Last year we were all together protesting in our shirts. And we didn't do it this time because I wasn't ready, okay? So, however, if anybody, I don't know who this is, it's got feedback. So I'm muting everybody. So listen, the governor said at MBE night, he said there would be no more waivers, right? And there would be, he's going to do something with the good faith effort, right? So that thing with the good faith effort, how they say, oh, they look for MBEs and blah, blah, blah. He was like, you got that faith got to be better than what it's been. But this is my favorite line. He said, if you are not talking work, wages, and wealth building, you're not talking about nothing.
Not talking about nothing.
Yes. And then look, when he said that, I was like, he needs to meet LaShawne because she know all about wealth building. And that's only why. So LaShawne, without further ado, this is Dump Trucks United. These are my friends, my colleagues in the industry. And I want to introduce you to them and them to you. And thank you so much for coming on tonight.
Yeah. No, thank you so much, Carmen, for having me. Hello, everyone. I am excited to be here. Carmen, this has been years in the making because you've asked me several times to come. And I love your diligence and your consistency. But again, my name is LaShawne Holland, and really I help mission-driven, freedom-seeking professionals to be able to multiply their money through business system mastery and investing. And I didn't grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth. I didn't grow up. Matter of fact, the only time my mother talked to me about money is when she was screaming at me because I was asking for it. And so we didn't have crucial cash conversations growing up. I just knew by the time that, I was getting ready to have my first son, that I didn't want my son to start from ground zero. I wanted to be able to give him the advantage in life. And I wanted to you hear a lot of people talking about leaving a legacy. I didn't want to leave a legacy. I wanted to be able to live the legacy with my kids. right? And so that was very important for me. And then, fast forward as we prospered, I wanted to see more people at the top with me. And so we started our financial education company back in 2011. Carmen, I don't remember what year I met you in, but it's been a long time. And Carmen says that, she likes to attribute me with a lot of her financial success, but it's all Carmen. Carmen is such a doer. Like, she's just not a hearer. She's a hearer and a doer, and she'll do what it takes to be able to shift to get the results that she wants. And so I think, especially now where we are in the country, it's just so much opportunity out there for us to just change our stories, change our financial stories, change our history, and be able to elevate in a time like this. But everything starts with mindset, right? Everything starts with mindset. I don't care what industry you're in. And a lot of times people will say, well, I may not have the money for this, blah, blah, blah. Listen, I know I have friends that are millionaires that struggle with poverty thinking. And so it has nothing to do with your income level. Our money blueprints are formed by the things that we saw growing up, the things that we heard growing up around money, and then certain experiences that we had around money. I mentioned that I wasn't born or raised with a silver spoon. I'm not a trust fund baby. In fact, my parents were teenagers when they had me. My mom was 16 years old when she had me. My father was 18. They didn't know what they were doing. And so I grew up in a household where struggle was just very prevalent. It was, and I thought everybody around me was struggling because everybody who was in my, ecosystem at that time was living just like we were living. We were happy and didn't know we were broke. So until I went to college and realized that not everybody was standing in the financial aid line. Like, I have friends that stayed in bed because their parents were able to write a check for it. And so I just was not a part of the stay in bed crew when I needed to give financial aid. But my kids were a part of the crew that got to stay in bed because, they had parents that were able by this time to pay for their higher education. So, but again, even my journey, it started with the biggest shift. My background is I am an accountant, and people will tell me, well, you have money because, you're accountant. That's simply not true. Being an accountant, and what they teach you in college is how to handle everybody else's stuff. They don't teach you how to handle your own stuff. What I know has nothing to do with this high-priced, worthless degree that I got. Or working for anyone else the rest of my life. And so when I look in, what's going on, it's way easier to multiply your money in today's time than it was when I started my journey 30 years ago.
So I got a question for you right there. So when you said it's easy to multiply your money, so I've told you a little bit about the dump truck industry and what's going on. Like, lately we haven't had any work. Don't want to have any sad stories or rehearse things here. However, I don't know how to mute him. Jerry, can you please mute yourself? I've muted everyone. I'm sorry. So I don't know. I'm going to mute all again, and LaShawne, bring you back.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, go ahead. So with that, how can you tell us, so we are transitioning to getting paid more money, right? But how do we multiply our money? How can you show that? How do you do that? What does that look like?
When you take a look at what's in your hand, it's so many different avenues to take what's coming in business and then put it out there to be able to make money. I mean, I've made money with invested in other businesses. I have made money, I'm a fan of options trading. I do long-term investing, and I also do options investing. We're real estate investors. We started real estate investing actually was one of our first very first, I've owned vending machines. The money from the vending machines allowed us to get into real estate. And my very first property in real estate, we walked away with net of $47,000. My second property in real estate, I walked away with a net of $500,000. And a lot of that had to do with timing. And so there's so many different asset classes that you can get into, that you can multiply your money during the season, especially when gas prices were ridiculous. And everybody was complaining about how high gas was. Every time I rode by Marathon Oil, I blew them a kiss and was like, thank you, Marathon Oil. God bless you. Marathon and, last year sent us on 8 vacations. So, I love just the opportunities that investing has gotten us, but you got to look at what's in your hand. Most people discount what they have in their hand. I remember years ago when I first met with my very first business coach, that's a question he asked me. He looked at me and he says, LaShawne, what do you have in your hand? And back then I was still working a job. And so I was like, well, I know I'm coming up on a bonus at the end of the year. And I had already started working on my mindset. And so I knew when the money hit my hand, I didn't want to go to the mall because money at the mall doesn't multiply, right? Not for you anyway. It multiplies for whoever you've given your money to, but it doesn't multiply for you. And so I knew in order for me to live a legacy, in order for my kids not to start from ground zero, in order for me to be able to expand and amplify their life, I had to make new decisions. Back then, I didn't necessarily know how closely tied my mindset was to my money, but I knew I had to make different decisions. And so when my business coach asked me, actually, I couldn't even afford him at the time. I'm still amazed at how I got in his office. But he asked me, he says, LaShawne, what do you have in your hand? And I knew at the end of the year that I was going to get a $3,000 bonus. And so this was, 3 decades ago. And so instead of me taking that money and paying off bills or taking that money, and spending it at the mall, we decided to buy vending machines. And that was our very first venture. And the vending machines allowed us to get the money to get into real estate. And, real estate totally changed my life. After that, we bought our brokerage firm. And so it's been, we own 5 different companies now, but that was the shift for me, taking a look at a lot of times people will think, I don't have a talent, I don't have an ability, I don't have a gift. Yeah, you do. You just have to be in the right environment to bring it out of you so you can use it for what I call bankable purpose, right? My talents, my abilities, my gifts go beyond just what I do. Mm-hmm. And so I know I have the ability to multiply my money. And so it was me taking a look at, okay, what do I have in my hand that I can start putting to use for me? And, and that's really how we got started, was considering what kind of core internal equity that I had that I can put in the marketplace. And when I talk about your money multiplying, I am talking about putting your money to work for you, your money working for you harder than what you're working for. And a lot of times people stay in jobs that they hate or industries that they hate because their money is unemployed. And so putting your money to be able to work, I want my money to work harder for me to go back and bring some more friends with them when it comes back to me, right? Mm-hmm. I don't want to work hard to be able to make money. And so I just started researching, and I just believe God put the right people in my path that helped me. And I can tell you, we invest at every level in becoming who we want to be. And so that was really a turning point for me. It was, a lot of time, even when I look at the people that I've known for decades that are still stuck, it's because they're not moving. You think you're moving every day, but you're not moving in the right direction that will give you the level 10 life that you want. And so really, it really starts with thinking, what am I currently doing now that's not getting me the results that I want? And for me, I was just hanging around people that was living just like me. I knew I had to change my circle in order for me to be able to do something different. I had to get around people who were living life at, a level that I desired to live life on, right? And so I wanted to know, what were they doing? What were they listening to? What were they reading? And so how do I shift? And part of, it's not the only thing, but part of how I shift is, bringing on more information that is in alignment with the vision that I have for my life. And, another thing that I did very early on was create a vision for my life and for my money. All right. No, Carmen, listen, I remember the day that I set my credit cards around at the dinner table. My table was beautiful. I set it up. It was so pretty. And I was like, your services are no longer needed. I was just calling them out. Your services are no longer needed. And I remember cutting them up and putting them in a bag. I still have them around here somewhere because I've never used them since. I haven't used a credit card for personal use in over 30 years. And when I say that from the stage, people are like, and I'm like, what is wrong with y'all? I have cash. Like I got money.
That's so funny because the first time I think I ever heard anyone say this was Carter, and that was at the event we did a couple of years ago when we were just trying to bring all the truckers together. And he said the silent partners, right? Them silent partners, they come hard and heavy with unseen charges that you didn't even think, like that 29% to 32% interest rate that you paying, and you paying a little bit at a time toward those become silent partners in your business.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that you taught me you said, if you take your money and pay that bill, that flow stops right there. But if you take it, yes. So like even my refunds, I invested now. Any other time I might have went and got the low. I mean, this is where you really showed me some things, right? Instead of buying that shoe, like with crypto, I can go buy some crypto. You know what I mean? That it's so, the barrier to entry with that is so low. You know what I mean? But the implications are so great. So you taught me one of the things that I love. Everyone, please mute yourself coming in. One of the things that I loved, that I learned from you, was that I have to invest my way out of debt.
Right. And Carmen, people think I hate budgets. I think budgets suck. I had a conversation earlier today with someone about that. And I was like, listen, I did not budget my way out of debt. I expanded my way out of debt. I started a business, and, my business was able, because we got to start looking for ways to collapse the time between us being able to make more money, income, revenue. And so I remember thinking, how can I do more with less? That's really what leverage is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's really what leverage is.
So Dee says budgets are great and they work.
Yeah, no, they didn't work for me. And so if that, it's all about speed for me. And what people fail to realize is that, true wealth is measured in time and not money. It's how long that I can live my life and maintain the standard of living that I want without having to trade time for dollars. And so I wasn't interested in living on a budget. For me, and I'll share this, you can do whatever you want. I know what's worked in my life, but a budget, for me, I felt like it boxed me in. And if already what I had coming in wasn't enough, being on a budget wasn't going to multiply it and make it more than enough. One thing that doesn't come with a budget is an abundance mindset. Me getting on a budget doesn't create an abundance mindset for me, right? And I knew that I had a window of time. I had 3 kids. I had a window of time. I didn't want my kids getting loans for school, right? And I wanted to be able to give them the advantage of life. I wasn't going to get that on a budget because at the time when I started, I was only making $48,000 a year. Getting on a budget was going to do what for me? Nothing. And so I was like, okay, I got to figure another way. Then I read a wonderful passage in the Bible in 2 Kings chapter 4, and God began to give me my instructions, and a budget wasn't one of them. He was like, I want you to start doing business. And that's what he instructed us to do. And so what would have taken me years or decades to get out of debt, I was able to collapse time and do it overnight in a transaction. And so I don't want to take the long way, right? I want to be able to enjoy it the quickest amount of time that I can. And I also didn't want anybody else dictating to me. And so not only does it not come with an abundance mindset, for me, I just felt crippled and stifled. All right. I didn't want to eat. I wanted to be able to vacation and travel the world. I don't want the rapture to be the only time that I see the Maldives. Right? I don't want to be flying through the air with Jesus and be like, oh, that's what Bora Bora looks like. No, I want to be able to visit it, and I want to take all my kids and take their significant others because my kids are grown now, but I want to be able to do all of that. And I want to be able to do it when I'm young. I don't want to wait in 30 years, 40 years when I retire. And if that's your goal, that's on you. I know for my household, for the House of Holland, that's not what I wanted. I want my great, great, great grandkids to know my name. And so I could not build that type of life on a budget. I didn't even know it was possible. I remember my husband and I going to New York, meeting with another one of our business coaches. And he said to me, he says, LaShawne, he said, I want you to write down the highest amount of money that you've ever made in your life. And so we wrote it down. At that time, I think I was making like $150,000 a year. My husband was making like at 165. And so we wrote it down. And he said to me, he says, how would your life change if your annual income became your monthly income? And I remember looking at my husband saying, what the freak, like, that's possible? You can do that? You know, and I'm here today to tell you I can do it. I've made my annual salary in 45 minutes before. And so I've hit six figures consistently, you know, in weeks. And so I know it's possible. I've had clients that I've helped make their annual salary, their monthly salary. And so for me, you know, it's about changing, not only healing the financial issues that we have in our communities, but when you heal those issues, you heal 7 generations forward and 7 generations backward. You know, and so my sons, my kids, they don't know. I growing up, the only vacation I ever got was King's Dominion. I don't know if you guys know about King's Dominion on here, but
that's all I ever had. I mean, was King's Dominion. That's all I knew.
Listen, we couldn't even eat in the park. We had to go outside, and my mom had one of those styrofoam igloo coolers where she put fried chicken and a loaf of white bread. That was the original chicken sandwich back then. And them nasty old hugs that's full of sugar that's killing people. Like, that's what we had. And so that was my vacation. I'm not discounting that. You know, my mother taught me a lot about endurance and fortitude, but I knew I wanted a different type of life for my kids. And so that required me to be a different person. It required me to up level, not only my up level my money, but up level my knowledge, up level my mindset. That was the biggest shift for me.
I think, and I'm going to do a broad thought for everyone. You know, I think multiplying your money may be foreign to us, right? And you know, my daughter says, Mom, you can't assume that people know, right? So, you know, ask them questions like they're a kindergarten, not like intimidating. So I want to ask you about the finance.
I think anybody who teaches, statistics show us that when you teach, one of the things one of my jobs used to be a CFO. I was a CFO for a large nonprofit that had organizations globally. And when we used to have audits, the CEO used to call me in when he was sitting down with the CPA firm, and he would just nod his head. And when they would leave, he would look at me and say, okay, now tell me what they just said, and layman's terms. And so I do have a gift to be able to break down money where people can understand easily. And so multiply is simply, you know, one of the strategies to be able to change your money is to compound at a higher rate. Compound simply means if I have a penny today, tomorrow I have 2 pennies, the next day I have 4 pennies, the next day I have 8 pennies, the next day 16 pennies, you get it, right? And so we have to learn, one, how to stop living off 100% of our income and put some aside. We have to learn how to segment our money, because segmentations allows me to see the money that I have that I can put to work for me. Like, these are my soldiers, go work. Every day I give my money assignments. If your money doesn't have an assignment, then, you know, your money is unemployed. If your money is unemployed, then your bank account is low. Hold on one second. Excuse me. My dog just came in. Come on, fly dog.
She sounded like me and my 2 dogs. But this is another thing, you all, while she's moving, is Carter, they started an investment group, I think it was 2 years ago. 2 years ago. And this is the thing about multiplication. They were getting ready to invest in, like, I'm sorry, Carter, I'm gonna have to bring you on for this one. But they would get ready to invest. I asked you to unmute, Carter.
Yeah.
They would get ready to invest in what are those things? Go ahead.
They were going into mutual funds, and the group didn't really understand. Again, there's some risks that you take with options, but they didn't understand the reward. So, being that I probably have over 20 years of chart reading, they wanted me to come in and take a look at it and analyze it. So I did. I looked at it. They were, they kept telling me that the market was going down. I was like, listen, I don't care. Y'all might not like Donald Trump. I don't care what you feel, what's your core thought is and this. I said, let me tell you what the market is saying. The market is saying we're going up. I said, if you don't believe that, I will allow you to make your decision, but I'm gonna take my decision and we're gonna see what the outcome is. So I allowed them to put a trade on, betting that the market was going to go down.
Right.
Well, long story short, I think I took the account from something like, I think it might have been something like 6,600 to like 14,000 in a matter of like 2 weeks, because again, I understood the risk management and what you had to do with options, which they didn't have the experience. And they
bought your son's class.
Yeah, I got them to get everybody's class. I got them to get Adam's class because they didn't have an understanding of what options could do and how they worked. And I said, no, I said, you know what? Adam has a wonderful course, because again, I had the opportunity to meet with Adam at LaShawne's event when we learned about crypto. And believe it or not, a 5-minute conversation with him changed my trading skills, because that was something that I didn't understand that he knew, right? So it's all in the information that we get and how we process it. I always say that, information is something that I can get and retain at the same time that holds a different value. It just depends on if you want to process it the way that I can. I think that people can learn how to shift it, but again, you have to learn how to shift your mindset. And I had to do the same thing. My mindset now is that I don't chase a check. I let a check chase me. So if I gotta go, so what I'm saying to you is that if you need somebody to pay you every Friday, you're going to stay broke because you already spent that check. So I don't even know when the check is going to come. I let the check chase me, so that way I don't have to worry about what that money is. When it comes, I move it, I do what I need to do, I set it some side, and I keep going. Now, I have stuff for myself, but I'm not saying, oh, you know what? I got paid $400 this week, and I'm going to buy this TV. I got to pay my car note. I got to pay this. No, we're not living like that. And again, mindset, because it traps you into this everyday roller coaster that every day you chasing, and it's like the more you chase, the more it gets away from you. So again, I change my mindset to the point like, let my money come to me. That's it. Just let your money come to you. Don't rely on somebody to pay you every Friday at 5:30. If you are in a vicious cycle.
Absolutely.
Right, but a lot of us, a lot of us are in that cycle, right? And this is why I called you on, LaShawne. How do we get out of that cycle? Okay, so then we invest in, I don't know, really, is a truck an investment? I mean, it is, but we have to spend so much money to make that investment go.
Yeah,
right?
it's an investment, but it is.
It is, but it's like a cycle of doom right now, especially with an old piece of equipment.
Yeah. But only when you rely on it every day. It's supposed to render you a return to the point that you don't rely on it. When you rely on it every day, it becomes, again, that takes you back to that vicious cycle.
Right.
A lot of what Carter said is so true, Carmen. For me, it was about taking back control. Okay. And so I remember one of the last job that I actually had with working for someone, every year he would give out a bonus at the end of the year. And this particular year, so many employees was coming to my office. Are we getting a bonus? Are we getting a bonus? I mean, I had grown men in my office crying because they could not afford to buy their families Christmas gifts. And I remember calling the CEO saying, hey, did you forget, about the Christmas bonuses that you normally give out at the end of the year? And he burst out laughing and was like, hey, I'm at Tyson's Corner shopping with my family. And so I remember thinking, I will never give anyone that much control over my money, not the government, not the state, not my pastor. I ain't give nobody that much control over how I live my life. And that's really how I felt when I worked the job. I had to wait, a whole year for them to give me a raise if they wanted to give me a raise. And I always got great raises, but for me, I wasn't going to be able to build the life that I wanted off of it. And so, Carter, it really was about taking back control. I believe everybody should have at least 7 to 15 streams of different revenue. Like my son recently gave he was on the radio station doing an interview and a segment, and he said, listen, the last recession, I never ever knew we were in a recession. There's an element of people that are making money where it just doesn't, it hits them very differently than it hits, the majority of people around the globe. And so he didn't understand that because it never hit our home. Why didn't it hit our home? Because we had multiple revenue streams that was coming in consistently. When you get your life to the point where you have consistent, predictable income, it starts to change. When my coach David asked me, how would your life change if your annual salary became your monthly salary? I never even knew that was possible, one. And so now I felt like it was a charge to me to start thinking about that. Wow, how would my life change? What would I be able to do? Who would I be able to help? How can I grow it more? And so, I like you myself, Carmen, I'm a doer. I was like, yeah, this is what's possible. I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna go get it.
Girl, Shonda, I just thought about my yearly, what I make yearly. If I made that monthly, I don't know, Dumb Trucks United. I don't know. I won't care. But
Sean, that girl had a lot invested in crypto.
I do have a lot invested in crypto. But guess what? I was in the room where LaShawne was, right? I was in the room. And it was about being in the room because that was something that you didn't even share virtually, right? That was something that you gave for people who were in the room about this new asset class, blah, blah, blah. And I'm sorry, my dog is whining. I'm sorry. So it was about being in the room and learning. Really, I didn't even know all the asset classes until I met you. And that might, some people say, okay, well, she was dumb. Okay, well, can anybody else name all the asset classes?
Listen, I didn't know them either when I started. Shoot, I didn't even have a net worth. When my first money coach asked me what was my net worth, listen, I couldn't even Google it. The internet wasn't out. I had to literally, and this is true story, I left work and went straight to the library so I can figure it out. And so I totally get it. I had to figure it out, but Carmen, by the way, I'm gonna drop another one of those bombs this year at the event.
Wonderful. What are the asset classes? Because for those of us who are in Dumb Trucks United and own trucks, business has been slow. Like, can you give us an idea of what we can do? Also, I know your husband's not on the phone and he teaches life insurance. I don't know who has life insurance here. You know what I mean? I just want to bring opportunities to my colleagues in this industry.
That's going to be one of my first things, Carmen, because, we stair-stepped you. It was one of the first things you did was get life insurance with us so you can shore up not only just your future and how you want to live in your golden years. What people don't realize is you can use life insurance like a bank. And they don't, and I'm not talking about that term stuff, because that term stuff, you can't do nothing with that but waste your money. But they, and so we begin to use that to do other things. Like when my kids graduated from high school, You know, we were able to give them $100,000 a piece to invest. Like they couldn't ball out, bling out. They had to invest the money, but that came from insurance. And so people don't realize that insurance is an asset class. I'm going to teach it at this year's event, but it absolutely is an asset class. Cash equivalents, like mutual funds, CDs. I think they're a joke. I don't do mutual funds or CDs because your money works for the people first before it ever works for you because of the high fees that they get. But you got cash equivalents, you got bonds that you can make money from. You got crypto as a new asset class that's, entering in. You got NFTs, that's a new asset class that's entering in. You got stocks, you got real estate. And so there you got businesses, there are multiple asset classes where you can make your money multiply. And that term simply is just me being able to compound my money at a higher rate. Because whether you know it about it or not, the same things that I teach to my clients, the banks are teaching too. If you don't have a plan for your money, there's somebody else out there that has a plan for your money. MasterCard and Visa, they got multiplying plans for your money. Absolutely. And so that's why it's so important for you not only to have a vision, but have a standard for your money also. And so there are various asset classes. I just found 3 that I love the most, to get into. And so I had to use what was in my hands. It was years before I really started investing in the market because I knew I had to make the money. For me, I wanted to be able to make the money. And, I had other things that was going on, but those are, the major asset classes. You got foreign exchange. Most people keep their money here in our market, but you can make lots of money at having your money invest overseas. The government, our banking system do it every night. They have sweep accounts where they take your money and they invest it overnight overseas and, they bring it back and then they delay it. And then they want to loan it to you at 23-30% interest. That's crazy. Why can't we do the same thing?
Right. So let me ask you this question, LaShawne, real quick. For people that are new to this and they really want to start investing, we understand options and we understand bonds, we understand metals, but we understand the whole market.
Yeah.
What would you suggest to them? Would you say something like, would you refer them to starting a dividend investment account where they invest in nothing but dividend stocks, where they get a dividend quarterly from their investments? Or would you suggest that they might get into ETFs? Because I think
in this market, I'm not doing anything with dividend stocks. I'm gonna stick to options. But there is a class that, I have my favorites with dividend stocks. I love Marathon. I'll go long on Marathon. I'll go long on Exxon. I'll go long on, the ETFs that hold gas and silver. Gold and silver in them. And I think it's important. It depends on what a person is comfortable with. I believe in value-based investing. And so I am only going to put my money in companies that line up with my values. But right now, I love ETFs. I would do ETFs over dividends right now because we can go into a choppy season where you got to pay attention. And if you don't know what you're doing, the problem with going long, even on dividend stocks right now in an economic climate like this that we're in, if you're not paying attention, you can lose big time. I was just on the phone. I had a client contact me. He sold his gym, Monkey Bar Gym. He sold it for $20 million. And his financial planner had him put it in a bunch of mutual funds. I don't know why. And, now he's calling us crying because he's down to 6 figures.
He's down. He's
way down. I have another lady who sent me a text earlier who got a settlement for $42 million. And her financial planner had her put it in the market, park it and leave it is what they said, and she called me today crying in the phone because of how much she's lost. And so I think your strategy during recessionary periods has to change. And that's why having, education behind it is so important because the world, we see signs every day of where we probably should be putting our money. It's all around us, right? When the dollar bill is doing bad, I know I'm going to go to commodities. but everybody doesn't understand that. And so, everybody wants the Apples and the Googles and,
The
outside.
Teslas.
Yeah, I don't deal with technology stocks outside of options because it's just too fickle, right? If I'm going to go long with because I have two different strategies, but when I go long with my investment strategies, it's going to be in something that thrives during a period like this, right? Which would be your commodities.
Okay, so y'all having this conversation, right? And probably the rest of us on the call don't know what you're talking about, the options and the ETF. So we're gonna bring it back to trucking and how. Okay, so LaShawne, you get ready to have an event, right? But before I go to that event, I have been walking with LaShawne for a long time because I did not know what was possible. Right. And I'm just going to go here. As a Black woman, I just didn't know it was possible. Right. Honestly. And when I learned, I continued to get coaching, right? I spent a lot of money on myself, changing my mindset, right? Getting coaching so I can leave a legacy. One thing that I heard her say was, I wanted my rooftop to be my children's floor. I had never heard, what did you say?
I wanted their ceiling to be, I wanted my ceiling to be their floor.
I have never heard that before, right?
And if someone like Carter can join my son's investment group, I started my kids investing when they were in elementary school. It was the first time, I'll never forget it. He wanted to buy a pair of $380 Jordans. Carter, you can clown him about this story. He wanted to buy a pair of $380 Jordans. And I was like, there's nothing in me, because we had a licensing deal with a apparel company. And so I knew how much those Jordans, those were $7 to produce. I'm not paying $380 for them. And so I said, I tell you what, I'll give you $100 and you got to figure out how to come up with the rest. And he did. He bought the shoes. He never wanted, but I said, if you're going to spend that kind of money, you should at least be getting a dividend check from them every quarter. And so that's when I started. He made his first investment. He was in the 5th grade, and Nike. Actually, I'm looking at the stock certificate right now because I still have it. He invested in Nike. That was the very first company that he invested in. But Carter, after he got the shoes and spent so much money, he didn't want to wear them. By the time he wore the shoes, his feet had grown and he couldn't even fit them anymore. So he wasted $380 on a pair of tennis shoes that he never got to wear. So to this day, if you notice, Adam doesn't wear tennis shoes because he's still salty because he bought those shoes. But to this day, he still gets a dividend check every quarter from Nike. And so that's what I mean, how we have to start teaching our kids. You can still get the things that you want out of life. Just let an asset pay for it. You know, I'm famous for laying on the beach and I'm like, okay, I'll ask my daughter, you know, give me something that you want. Let's figure out how we can pay for it. And that's what we do. My kids didn't grow up where I said we can't afford something. It's how can we afford it? And so those are the mindset shifts that people don't realize that starts to really affect their life. Because now I start to think differently. Well, you know, do I really want to take my refund check and spend it and pay a bill? And then the flow stops there. Right? We know what that looks like. We've been doing it all our whole entire lives. But if I can take this refund and I can put it someplace that can make more money, then I can come back and pay that off and I still have money to keep going. And so we have to get out of this cycle of constantly spending everything we have. And when people say, well, LaShawne, I just don't have enough coming in. You're a creative being. You just don't know it. You got to tap into your resourcefulness. My husband says this on stage all the time. When resources are low, become resourceful. When resources are low, become resourceful. And you never know what opportunities will show up in your life just because of that. I mean, and we put so many limitations on ourselves. I read a story with the lady with the Crocs who, you know, the gibbets that people stick inside of their Crocs. Well, she did that for arts and crafts so her kids would stop fighting. And her kids were at the pool one summer. A man came over and said, "Where did you get those from in your Crocs?" And the little girl was like, "My mommy makes them." He was like, "Give your mommy my card." He paid her $26 million for her intellectual property on those gibbets, because what they didn't know, he was the owner of Crocs. And
Wow.
so you got people that are making money outside of employment income. Until we learn how to make income outside of employment income, we will always have more month than money, period.
Period.
You know, and so
you said something earlier, because I used to buy if I wanted something, I would buy a dump truck, right? That was my asset. I really didn't know about stocks until I met you, right? I didn't know about stocks. I darn sure didn't know about crypto until you told us, and that just took me into a whole rabbit hole. And now I know a whole lot of stuff about our country that I probably shouldn't know, but I know now. But it was about being in that room, right? And your ability, even our one-on-one masterminds, it's like, oh my God, I would have never thought about that, right? And we do have these other gifts and talents. Like, I have Nydia on the phone, and she has an event company. She does, I'm just saying, we have people on this call where you do have other talents where you can make money and then invest in a vehicle, right? Not a truck, but another asset vehicle that's going to render you a return. It's about wealth building. That I'm bringing LaShawne here not for you to buy another truck, right? But if you want to, you can. But I'm just trying to tell you that you can do other things with your money to build wealth, right? To leave a great legacy.
Have you bought crypto miners?
No.
So I never do a Christmas holiday without getting assets for my kids. Like, I'm over the games and stuff. And so I bought them miners, something really simple. I know you asked what is something they can do. It was very inexpensive. I don't even think I paid $400 for it, right? I bought everybody miners. They set them up in their windows, and it's making money. It mines crypto from everybody in this area that is buying and looking for crypto. It's a miner of crypto, and we make money from it. I mean, like these things, and you don't have to know anything about crypto to sit a miner in your window at your house and let it collect crypto. Like, you don't have to do anything. It is so, I mean, and I know you know this because you've shared some video content around this, but there's people out in the Midwest that are doing nothing but buying up land and putting trailers on it for crypto mining. And I know crypto has seen its first crypto winter, but it's such a new asset class, and there's so much opportunity ahead of us to be able to grow once they get all the kinks out of it. And so, I have a client, is a young guy. He's friends with my sons, and I kept telling him, Carmen, he was heavy in crypto, and he lost over 6 figures in the last in the correction, but it's because he wasn't taking his profits. And so it is so important. You got to take your profits.
Yeah,
that is so simple with a miner that you can get, especially upward north in Maryland. Right. And I know people are on here from all over, but you can use miners anywhere in the US. Right. And so that is something else. You don't have to know everything there is to know about crypto to invest in a miner to have it make you money.
Right. So I want to talk about your event that you have coming up. Giving us an opportunity. And if you don't mind, if anybody has any questions, please put it in the chat box. If you have any questions. Angela says, I like term life insurance. Whole life insurance has a saving inside it. The saving inside a whole insurance is never yours. You take it, you pay it back.
I'm not a whole life fan either. I'm definitely not a term life fan. I am an IUL fan, Index Universal Life. It is a permanent policy, unlike the term policy. I just feel like there's no benefit for me. Now, I tell people, if term is all you can afford, then by all means, it's better than you not having nothing, because we got to stop letting our kids start from ground zero. I call it love insurance. It is loving your family enough not to have them crying for 2 reasons. You done died and gone on, and then you left them broke. Like, we got to stop doing that. And so with IUL, it acts as a retirement piece in it. It has cash value in it that you can borrow against to pay for your kids' college education. You can buy your kids a house with it if you want. You can start a business if you want. You can do with it, because who you won't come after if you don't pay it back? Yourself? It's what's called infinite banking. And so IULs, index universal life policies, come with disability. If I can't work anymore, guess what? I can still collect a check. It comes with critical, terminal, and chronic care for free. These are all free riders. And right now, if a term life insurance doesn't give me those free riders, and neither does a whole life insurance policy doesn't give me my free riders. And then another thing that people don't pay attention to, it's life insurance, but it has a retirement element to it it mimics the stock market, but your money's not in the market. And so when the market goes up, you go up. Depending on which level you get, like with an annuity, when the market drops, it levels off and you don't lose any money. You may only be making 2-3%, but that's better than you losing your principal. And so there are other products out here that is way better than term, because it gives you so many other benefits. Mainly, most people who don't have an IUL, they have to get a separate policy for disability. And I don't know if you guys have checked, disability insurance is expensive. I had a client go through and check with State Farm, and it was $8,000 a month for them to be able to get the disability policy that they wanted. And so with IUL, it is a permanent policy. The problem with term is, if I got term, I got term years ago. I've since canceled the policy, but years ago when I first learned about life insurance, I got term, right? Well, after 30 years and the term is over, do you realize that they only pay out a small percentage of term life insurance because people live too long? And then when you're older and you got to renew your policy, now I got to pay quadruple what I paid for the same policy just because my age. And so IUL, there are so many other programs that's out there. It's just that we have not known about them for so long. Like Carmen, I'm sure when we first ran your numbers for you, you were shocked to see, how much you could end up with. And anybody who has kids or grandkids that's young, with everybody when I see somebody having a baby, I'm telling you, your child has the ability to be a multimillionaire by the time of retirement age. If you just start, it's the cost of going to McDonald's, once a week. If you just put that away, you can start with $25 a month, and be able to increase it. But that's another way that you multiply your money. And so that's the difference between how I feel about term insurance, whole life insurance, IULs. I am such a big fan of IULs because it comes with so many other riders that you get that term just doesn't offer you. And it's not expensive for you to get. You can start, again, as low as $25 a month in investment in term and still have all of this.
So Marie says, will the event focus only on crypto? No.
Not at all.
Not
at all.
Yeah, it's like, okay, so let me just tell y'all, I've been going to these events for years, and I always, we had to beg her this time. Like her group, all her students went on Facebook and we begged her for this event, right? Because we wanted to bring other folk along, right? So no, it's not all about crypto. You probably will learn more.
It's been 2 years since we
had. It's been 2 years, and so we actually begged her to do this event. And so the event is March the 23rd
through the 25th. It's in Columbia, Maryland. We have people flying from all over that comes to the event. I never teach the same thing, but I'm always, if I ever have the event again, it's always for me about mindset, it's about money, and it's about multiplying. And so this year, for people that are struggling in their business, earlier, I did an Instagram post. I've made 40 grand off of AI this year already. And most people don't know how to use AI in their business, right? And so we're going to be teaching this year how to use AI in your business if you're struggling with other elements of being able to multiply in your business. We're going to be teaching about infinite banking, how you can become your own banker at this year's event. We're going really deep on the first day on mindset. And so, nope, it's not all about crypto.
But one of the things that you said though, mindset, you don't just change your mind one time. Mindset shift is an everyday thing, right? That's why even here, I was telling everyone, this is bigger than a rate increase change. Right. We really need to know our value, and we should be our biggest investment. And the equity that has been stolen from us from our businesses, right? Because of a lack of information, a lack of knowledge, right? A lack of clarity, right? Because I even talked to LaShawne, I was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. She was like, oh, we need to talk about clarity, right? Getting clarification on what it is that we're supposed to do. You all know me. I'm a straight Jesus girl, right? I can't put it no other way. I love God, and you all know that God loves you because I tell you all the time, there is something greater for us. And I brought everybody here together to meet this woman so we could have an opportunity to do something different with our money. Not saying stop trucking, but like if you get $100, I'm gonna just give you an example, right? When she first told us about crypto, she said just park $100 in this token, right? And so I went on a deep dive. So I did this coin called Dogecoin, right? And everybody was talking about it. It doesn't have utility, so I wouldn't recommend that one, not now. Anyway, I put $500 in Dogecoin, right? And this is about multiplication. I had it $500 in Dogecoin, and when it went up a couple of months later, man, from $500 to like $8,700 or something like that, I think it was. And I'm here to tell you, there's opportunity with just a couple of $100. You could take $100, and I'm not telling, look, I'm not a financial, what they say, I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. I'm not telling you, I'm just telling you about the opportunities and the possibilities that are out there. And we just have to our own mindset, we have to educate ourselves, and we have to get out of the paradigm that we're in. If you are the smartest person in your circle, you need to shift and pivot and become a part of somebody else where you can look up to and they can share information. Like we have to really start subjecting ourselves to mentors and people who know more than we do, so we won't stay in the same position, right? I was really my trucks didn't move from December the 10th up until a few weeks ago. And really it's because I had other things going on that sustained me, right? I still had to pay my insurance. I had all the things to do. I had a truck note to do. I had a truck note. It's just other things that we can do. And I have pledged, and you all know, I told you that God called me to bring a fragmented industry together. And we're no longer fragmented. That's not my story. That was to bring me here. We are healed, whole, and well. And we're going to continue to be healed, whole, and well. And we're going to find out other ways to grow. Because I promise you, as a millionaire, Shonda, okay, I don't want to be in this space by myself. If I say, Nydia, let's go somewhere, I want to be able to go somewhere and not think about, oh, I don't have the money. I need fuel for my trucks. I need to make sure I'm gonna meet payroll. I don't want to live that life. And I don't want to live this life by myself. Right. That's why I brought LaShawne on here, because I really want us to have the possibilities and the opportunities to do something different and the opportunity to make the biggest investment in ourselves so that we can create the life that we want.
Right.
So I put LaShawne, she's having a whole event. It's called Wealthy Revolution Live. It's gonna be phenomenal. She also wrote a bomb book. It's called Born to Multiply.
Yeah.
I didn't even know multiplication was possible. I thought, like, let me save my money honey, with all the things that's happening right now, if you got more than $100,000 in the bank, I suggest you do something else with that $100,000 with what's going on in the world today. With they were talking about the FDIC, and it's on their website. You can find it. They said the people have more trust in the banks than we do. This is FDIC, the people who insure your money, because they get ready to do bank in. If you don't know what that means, go to Google. It's a real thing happening here. The BIS, the Bank of International Settlements, all these people put out there an $81 trillion blip in the financial institution for what is it? Your retirement. We have to take control of our money. We have to take control of our mindset and our destiny. It's possible. We can get out of this thing. It's not just about turning the rates around for us, right? But even changing the game for our kids beyond just here in trucking. And I'm here to bring everyone that I can to you all and you to everybody, because I believe it's enough wealth out here for us to share in it.
Absolutely.
So, LaShawne, I want you to close this out, and you can tell them about the event. You put the book Born to Multiply. Oh my God. If you think, what's that book Robert Kiyosaki did? If you thought that book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it's a phenomenal book. But this book right here, it's a phenomenal book. And what's that quadrant book? You made me read it. Cash Flow Quadrant. I mean, these are books that you all can invest in yourself. It's all about changing your mindset.
Absolutely. And with our book, the Born to Multiply book, it's just borntomultiplybook.com. I'm giving away over $300 and free bonuses too around getting your money straight. I think Financial Revolution Quick Start is there. If you just go to the website and, get the book, you just pay for shipping and handling. I think it's $11 or something to pay for shipping and handling, but you get the book free and you get, those programs also for free. But and Carmen, I gave you a discount code too, if they want to.
I'm getting ready to put it up here.
The code is good for general registration. Don't share, because I had them create the code for you.
Yes, everyone, please don't share this. Hold on. I'm typing. This code is just for us. I begged her to, I ain't really begged her, that's not true. I asked her would she come on and share with my colleagues, and because I really want us to have something great, to leave a legacy to our kids, or whoever you want to leave a legacy to. Right. And it means a lot to me. I love you guys, and I want you, all of us, to prosper. Right. I'm like God. I want you to prosper and be in good health. Right? The Bible says, prosper even as your soul prospers. But what are you feeding yourself?
What are you feeding yourself?
And we have to go beyond just being up under the truck. There are opportunities, and God has so many possibilities for you as an individual to do many great things, to include trucking and going beyond trucking. And I'm really excited to hear about the breakthroughs all of you all are going to have. I'm excited because I know it's possible. Look, we talking work, wages, and wealth building.
Yep, work, wages, and wealth building. Love it.
So anyway, can you talk about the event again, LaShawne? Because we've been on here an hour, and I don't like going longer than an hour. And go ahead.
Awesome. So actually, Wealthy Revolution Live, we've been doing this event since, I want to say 2011 is when we started doing the event. And the event is, I created the event because I wish it was something like this around when I was trying to change my life, Carmen, to be honest. That's the only reason why we decided to do the event, because I knew it was more LaShawne Hollands out there. And so I also knew that a lot of times in business, people can't really build the way that they want to build because of past trauma, childhood trauma, or even adult trauma in their life. And so, on the first day, I knew mindset is such a big part of a person's success. And so we're bringing in speakers who are, who are phenomenal in their own right. They're paid by large corporations to come in, and I have them coming in just to pour into our community. I know Jade Simmons. She ran for president in the last election. She's coming. She's a powerhouse. I personally, I love to sit at her feet. And so I would come just to hear Jade because she's so amazing. But she's teaching about purpose. We're going to be teaching about, of course, I mentioned earlier, AI, how to use that in your business. We're going to be teaching on infinite banking this year there. And so, we're teaching most things multiplying. That's what we're going to be teaching. But the event really has become, I know, Carter, you've been to the event before too. It's like, I don't want to call it a one big family reunion because most of the people that come, they return every single year. We've had people come from all parts of Africa. Remember the last event, we had somebody here from Russia. I don't know how they got in the country during COVID, but that ain't my business. They came and so we have people that come in from all over the country. We have people that come in from the Caribbean islands. We got people that come from all over. And this is the place that they come to figure out, okay, how do I put my money to work for me? And so it has really turned into, I want to keep it small, but we have people like Carmen that wants us to grow. And one of the reasons why I want the right people in the room that are really tired of being where they are, that are willing to do what it takes to create a different story. Because at some point in our life, a lot of times we will start out, we get to a certain point in life. For me, it was when I hit my 40s, it was, who am I supposed to be, right? Because no matter what business you have, it's something that you do at your core, it's not who you are. So who am I supposed to be? And then I transitioned to figuring out what my talents and my abilities were. Like, who did I decide to be? I decided to be an accountant, but that wasn't who I was created to be. Right. And then there's this gap. And so Wealthy Revolution Live was created to fill that gap. Like, what's happening to me? And, and then the next stage was, hey, how was I really designed? And if this is how I was designed, and if this is how my purpose, because I believe wealth follows purpose, you tap into your purpose. You see it all the time. You look at people like Elon Musk, who's a massive creator, right? He's so creative. And so, but that's his gift. His gift is creating and problem solving. He's just been able to build one of the, wealthiest companies in the world because of that. But it all started with an idea, right? And so he just used his gifts. And so, I think we're either in that gap stage or the gift stage to figure out, okay, now where am I being sent next to be able to create the level 10 life that I want to create? And so really that's what Wealthy Revolution Live is about. That's what it's about. It is to help people who are in the gap get past that and build a bridge to the life that they really want.
Well, I want to say thank you, LaShawne, for coming on and sharing your heart and your mindset, your wisdom. I thank you. I appreciate you. I love you to the moon.
I love you too. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Before you all go, to all the women that's on the call, Dump Trucks United is hosting the first ever coffee and conversation on March the 30th. So hold the date. We have details to come. I know I've secured a lady. I went to an event today with a Tutor Perini company, Frontier Kemper. I met one of the project managers there, and I told her about what I was doing, and she was like, oh, I'm there. She was like, whatever you need me to do, just based upon, expanding our thinking. She in the room, they just thought I was a trucker. I was like, no, I'm beyond a trucker. I do excavating, I do that. And she was like, well, you know, all truckers need to expand their thinking. And she was like, we're getting ready to implement mentor protege. She was like, I'll be there for that. Send me an invitation. And her name is Martha Venezuela, and she's the national director of business development. And so it's going to be great for the women on March the 30th. I have other speakers that I'm talking to. I won't say anything else. Somebody on the phone, maybe she might speak, but I don't know. Let's go to that event, Wealthy Revolution Live. LaShawne, thank you so much. I am going to send out a link again. It's in the chat box. I will email, if you all know my phone number, 202-409-1207. You either got a text message or you got an email from me today. You can go on Dump Trucks United, get this information, be there in the room, and make you your biggest investment.
Right. Make you your biggest investment. Thank you, guys. I enjoyed it. And hopefully I look forward to seeing you at the event. If you come to the event, you know, let me know that you're part of Truckers United. And Carmen, I'll talk to you because I do have a gift that I want to give your community. So I'll talk to you offline about it.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.